Hey everybody, welcome to the fifth weekly update for the PegNet community. And I'm Katie Z, and joining me today we've got David Chapman, we've got David Johnson, Stephen, I don't know your last name. Maisley, thank you, and Paul Snow. So I want to dive right in there. Things since each week, to nobody's surprise, I think by this point, has just been steadily going quickly, not missing a beat, lots of action from week to week going on. I think a good starting point for some of these quick and dirty updates are maybe jumping into what the activity looks like from PegNet market cap. And maybe David Chapman, you want to give an update on what's been going on and trending since last week?
Sure. So we've seen our first daily close above $1 million in market cap. We'd popped above a million before, but the close was below, and we're well above that now. I think we're sitting around 1.5 million in market cap. We've been adding new pairs as well as those have come online. I think we just added 4 pegged gold pairs. So there's definitely progress on that front.
I'm on mute here. I was going to share this screen if that helps anybody. For those who are new, PegNet market cap. Oh, I'm sharing my whole screen. So sorry about that. See my messy desktop. How do we do this? New share. There we go. So now on pegnetmarketcap.com, I'm looking at what the trend has been here. And what I like seeing is that we've got these new plateaus. Hopefully, it's still early to tell, but some level of stability going on the assets on the network. But maybe I can take it back to the front here. Give people an idea of the different assets that are on the exchange and where those levels are at. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to this of what they've seen. And we've got David Johnson. Do you know what the current count is on how many pairs are live right now on indexes?
I think we're up to 17 now. So we saw the 4 pegged gold pairs go live on Vitex on, I guess it was Monday. The week before we had the pegged dollar pairs go live. So that's really cool. We've had more dexes reaching out about adding it. So hopefully the next week we'll be able to celebrate that. But yeah, no, it's been cool. I mean, effectively when I think about PegNet, I mean, one of its big functions is like a decentralized OTC, right? So it's interesting that it's getting traction with the DEXs specifically because they have the most liquidity challenges of anybody, right? They're sort of trading self-custody and the security advantages for some of the liquidity you get with centralization. So by PegNet introducing all this liquidity for people to be able to move larger volumes of crypto, that seems like a natural fit. So it's cool to see that bearing out in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most exciting parts about PegNet right now is that liquidity that has really never been experienced from traders and asset managers before. And in essence, sorry, I'm just the mics here. What PegNet has essentially created is the ability for individuals to become their own asset managers now. So instead of, where you can be your own bank with Bitcoin, for example, well, now you can be your own fund manager, right? Because you've got all of these stable coins that you can manage in your portfolio. And I anticipate that that's going to expand with time too.
Well, and that you can be your own asset manager and then be your own OTC. Because the big thing they all do, right, is rebalance their tokens on a regular basis, like once a month. Okay, I want more ETH exposure. I got to go to an exchange or go to an OTC and pay a fee. Now they don't have to do that, right? So I see that as a big advantage. But do you want to talk about coding? We've got Stephen and Paul here. Stephen, maybe you can give us a quick update. I know you've been working on a lot of stuff. Last time, I think we talked about, coming gateway, coming Ethereum signature stuff, especially the Ethereum stuff. I think might be really exciting.
Yeah, so there's a few things in the works. We do have a PegNet Explorer coming live too. Factom is developing that, and we've been reaching out with them, working with them to get all the APIs they need. So that's great. We're hoping to get that out live as quickly as we can. And then the other work going on is the Ethereum gateway stuff. So I've been talking with people who are constructing the other side of that gateway and working with them to get the all the proper technology in PegNet to support that. So once that hits live, it'll be really cool to see PegNet assets going across into Ethereum. And then that should open up a lot of, hopefully, listed exchanges too, because they already have the ERC20
right.
Sort of things handled. So right now we're working on getting PegNet out there visually on the Explorer, and then across chains.
Awesome, that's great. I'm certainly excited for that. I think it's like 80 or 85% of tokens are on Ethereum, so certainly a big community we want to hook into. So.
Yeah, we're really close on all those things. It comes down to essentially just syncing up all of our different development teams, making sure everyone keeps the train going.
Cool. Awesome. Paul, you want to add anything on that?
No, we continue to be developing the story. We're building models to demonstrate how the system works, doing the education on a lot of the people that want to come into the PegNet and looking for their opportunities. We're very, very different from your typical ICO where everyone wants those founder tokens or some share of the founder tokens, and there's no founder tokens. They want relationships with the foundation or the company behind it. Well, there's no foundation, there's no company. So, so all of these materials and all this education demonstrating how you can leverage the PegNet to attack real problems and make money. It's critically important, and we're making a lot of strides on that. It's great to have these large data sets. So the longer the PegNet runs, the more data I have to leverage to make predictions and to model what may happen in the next few months. And it's pretty exciting. We're getting along the way down the road, bringing more people in. It's impressive to be in conversations and have people excited about jumping in. Yeah, Daniel?
Hey, Dan, we just welcomed you to the chat room. Your mic clicked in there. I don't know if you had something to say, but we are open to the conversation. And he's signed off here. I think he's having a little bit of technical difficulties over there.
No worries.
Katie, if you want to share PegNet market cap again, I just realized we added some functionality that people might be interested in.
Let's do it.
So if you want to scroll down to the exchange price for pegged US dollars.
Okay, here we go.
And go ahead and select that. And then
Let's see if I can minimize my screen.
what we enabled is the ability to overlay the exchange price and PegNet price on these charts. So if you want to select the crossed out PegNet price.
Where am I? Oh, okay, here.
And what that does is that overlays the price. So what that's saying is pegged US dollars is always $1 on PegNet. And on the exchanges right now, it's a little bit less. If you look at the bottom right there, there's actually a 5.46% disparity because the exchange price of pegged US dollars are 94 cents right now. In other words, as more arbitrage bots come online and people start to take advantage of the design of PegNet, we should see that spread close significantly. And this is going to be a really good way for us to determine how well the design of PegNet is functioning over time. So we want to, especially on stable coins like pegged US dollars, see a nice tight spread. So that's something for viewers to keep an eye on over time.
Great. You know what? I have a question for you guys, and I'm sure with a little tough mental work, I can figure my way out of it. But you know, I'm working with, I've got my company that accepts crypto, and we work with crypto clients all around the world, and so we have these cross-border remittances, and crypto makes a whole lot of sense in a lot of those situations. Due to some of the volatility, when you're trying to build a business, you're looking for options that are more stable for making payments, and so that way there's not too much price fluctuation going on you. Now, when I'm trying to do these cross-border remittances, however, I'm getting these tremendous fees, even on these stable coins, and I'm looking at different wallets. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, so what is the paint by numbers method, and how can PegNet help address this issue of these exorbitant fees? And is PegNet mature enough yet in the marketplace with the different exchanges and wallets, or does it have more maturing to do? So I guess I'll kind of leave it there. Where can someone like myself who wants to use crypto but not incur those high fees with stablecoins?
Well, I'm not sure if we have quite the liquidity for you to buy a battleship. We're beginning to get to the liquidity where you can make maybe merchant level type purchases of small items. As the liquidity grows, I believe we'll be in a much better place. And your fees are largely coming, I assume, from the conversions of your crypto to USD, or your conversions to euros or whatever. I mean, where are your fees? Who's charging you the fees?
So let's give an example of converting from Tether to Bitcoin within the same wallet. So
Right.
Use Exodus, for example. If I am trying to convert for $5,000, I'm hitting roughly $120 fee on that. And well, that adds up. You know, you start doing a lot of those transactions back and forth to keep things moving. So is there a way that exists now, and can PegNet play a role in how we can reduce that fee?
Well, those fees are fairly straightforward to reduce and get rid of, because the PegNet can actually do the conversion of a Bitcoin value to euros or dollars at market price for very low costs, almost de minimis costs. What's happening when you do a conversion of an asset to another asset inside of an Exodus wallet is you're going and hitting Changelly or Shapeshift or somebody like that, and they reasonably have a fee they need to charge for that service, and so this is going to sidestep that fee, and that is that conversion fee of one token or currency to another. The same thing does happen in the regular banking and financial sector when you want to move USD to euros, or euros to pound sterling, or any of these other currencies. There's a few percentages you're going to pay every time you cross that line. PegNet addresses that by incorporating those conversions in the protocol. So there's a strong payment utility here for the PegNet.
So I see that. I mean, today I enjoy the benefits of how fast I don't have to wait for wire transfers or any of those central parties to communicate with one another. So I appreciate that. And where do you see where do you see this evolving to? Because I think stablecoins and the growth of that has been a testament to this industry as a whole kind of maturing to that next stage of development. How do you see what PegNet's offering to kind of put some pressure on how we change money and currency?
Well, it does decentralize something that we haven't decentralized before, and that is basically the basic economies of how you manage value outside of very centralized parties like exchanges and banks and the traditional way of and friction of moving assets or value. Now, that's probably going to at some point run into some friction from current stakeholders. It's very, very hard to see what the future is and whatnot. But some principles have been established by statements and by regulators and by businesses about the need for decentralization, the need for total accountability and transparency, the need for fairness of all players in the market. And what we've done is we've done a lot to address those issues. And by addressing those issues and ensuring that the playing field is level and ensuring that everything is auditable and verifiable, I believe we're going to increase the efficiency of commerce, both locally and globally, and thus the efficiencies of the economy.
I mean, just to speak to the question of when it'll be ready, what we need to see is more and more ability to get into pegged assets and out of pegged assets. So there are a couple of OTCs that have reached out and are starting to offer support for pegged assets. So, jump on the Discord. People can send the info or an email reference there so they can connect with an OTC. So for somebody bigger that wants to get in, those doors are starting to open. I think there are 3 OTCs now, in a lot of them based in Asia and in Europe that can do this. So yeah, by all means, if that's your category. The other thing is, been getting approached by interesting projects that have other type of assets, and they want to start taking payments from PegNet. And so hopefully we'll be able to speak more about that next week. It looks like they've decided to move forward on that. And so that's really cool and exciting when you see the first sort of big merchants and people that are dealing in commodities and other assets open up to accepting PegNet. That becomes a way for anybody holding pegged assets to then move into other value, right? And so I think that will be a cool thing that we'll see here in the near term. But can't say too much just yet, but soon we'll be able to hopefully talk about that next week.
You leave us hanging. That sounds really exciting. I think it's important to underline too. So while PegNet is decentralized by our definitions of, no central governance or entity, collateral, reserve, et cetera, that it's all on chain. So it's all fully auditable and compliant. I think that it's important that this was part of, as I understand it, Paul, when you were contriving this concept for PegNet, that this was an important part of that is, emulating some of the principles of Bitcoin and how it's met U.S. regulations and compliance. And, the development side of things, we're not trying to skirt around and do things backdoor or under the radar per se. It's fully transparent. It's on chain, right? So, anyone wants to touch on that?
And a community project and run by software by known and understood parties. So yes, the idea is to follow the roadmap. The roadmap's not very clear. The regulators don't like clear roadmaps, but to the extent that they are clear, we want to pay attention to all of that, be fully compliant.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to cover, Katie?
Well, I think the other thing that we touched on and want to highlight too is the ERC20 wrapper, and what I think that's a huge milestone. Could be wrong, but I think it's really big. You know, now we have the ability to enter into all of the Ethereum wallets and have 30 new stable assets in these Ethereum wallets that didn't exist before. Now that wrapper is, I think, in testing phase now and should be live soon.
Yeah, it's definitely in a form of testing right now. A lot of the design assistance around how the users are going to interact with it. We're trying to make the experience as seamless as possible. So it's, you know, finding the technical details or implementations to facilitate a nice user experience.
And from the technical side, how are you guys? You guys need additional community participation, or where are things at with that?
I mean, technically, it's not a very difficult thing. Surprisingly, it's actually pretty simple. So it's not really
On the wrapper.
Yeah, the wrapper itself is not that challenging. We've been taking a lot of community feedback as far as trying to get their opinion on, you know, what are the user experiences and user stories for this, so we know how to design our, because right now we have a Factom wallet, right? We want to integrate as much as we can to facilitate this wrapper, but there are some trade-offs you have to make, and we're just trying to make the right ones.
Sure. And just more generally, I stayed up late last night. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. You know, I was thinking about all these ideas for improvements on PegNet. And so I'm going to post about it today, but I've come up with a very, very simple framework for PegNet Improvement Proposals, PIPs. And this isn't meant to introduce a bunch of governance, but just give us a place where people in the community can propose ideas for improvements, because there's a lot floating around in 20 different channels. And just like, okay, let's dump them into a Google Doc. Let's have a place where we can look at these ideas, give them a number, you know, think them through. How would you implement these stuff? And so that, I think, will be a cool way for developers that want to get involved in PegNet to jump in. Oh, you guys could be doing X, right? And put that in a small, simple proposal that people can then examine and discuss and sort of have a way of talking about it. But I think we're growing enough as a community where we start to need things like improvement proposals, right? Which have been critical in the development of decentralized systems like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And in fact, you can kind of gauge how active a community is, that there have been, what, like 1,700 Ethereum improvement proposals at this point, right? There have been, you know, 400 or 500, whatever it is up to in Bitcoin. So that's been a cool channel that I've seen work in other decentralized protocols. So kind of want to bring that into PegNet. So I'll make a post on the Discord, maybe a few other places, but that's just my little pet project of the day is let's, you know, call together all those ideas.
What I think is good about that too is what we've noticed pretty quickly is that there's a lot of people involved in, I mean, a lot of people have opinions, and it's been very, very hard to try to run around the Discord trying to grab everyone's opinion on every decision. And then once you make those decisions, you know, 2 weeks later, someone asks you why you did something, you're like, oh, you have to scroll back. I think having a spot where we keep our thoughts and then sort of like, you know, write them for immutability purposes, and then everyone can always reference back to, you know, why was that decision made? Is, oh, because of this conversation, rather than rehashing the same things over and over again.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful. And we do have the forums. I should probably also post it and thank David Chapman for what they do with Factomize and the forums there. That could be another place we could put those kind of repositories. You know, once it, you know, I could dump a copy of that from the Google Doc into permanent, you know, storage in Factomize. So, you know, I'm sure David would be up for that. You know, more posting to the forums. So.
We need to discuss whether we want to allow those second layer solutions like PegNet.
Yes, that's a controversial issue. You know, should we discuss PegNet related things? But hopefully we're at the heart of the Factom community. So yeah, David takes his inclusive policy, which we appreciate.
We'll see.
I'm staying out of that one. I think that's a brilliant idea. That is really, really brilliant. And I think it's so critical to the success of, if you look at just in the trends of like history, not just in technology, when you have a community of people coming together to all participate in that, that's when you get the most beautiful results. So looking forward to more inclusion.
Awesome stuff. Anything else? I think those are the big stuff for this week. We got a lot on our plate. Steven and the developers, the community is busy coding. So, David, anything else you want to cover? I know your team's working on a lot of stuff.
No, we're good. Thank you, though.
Cool. Awesome.
Very cool. And we'll have more updates. Stay tuned this week, and certainly by next week, I'll be much more chatty about it, putting together a trading competition and coordinating some of those details. It'll be really exciting to get some more participation in that, and can't wait to see the interactions, what kind of results PegNet's yielding for people.
Cool. All right, guys. See you next week.
That's it.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao. Bye, everyone.